As I look back on my career, it was amazing. I was somebody back then. You could almost say everyone in the corporation either knew of me or knew me personally. And we did great things. What I found out is that people only do things if they like you. And so we worked together. We did things they said that they could never do. And we did them with enthusiasm and with hard work and loyalty to one another. I was flying around with corporate leaders and writing speeches. I was hosting corporate events and standing on the stage proudly with other members of important groups, departments. I created a Spanish language magazine that was ABC audited. It had never been done before. It ran for 13 years. And does anyone remember me? What do I have to show for it all? Some dusty copies of a magazine in an old box in the attic of my garage? Where's the justice? It's too early to retire. I can't do it. I have to be somebody again. Can't you understand? I worked for the company for 24 years. A little pension is my reward? Really? Can't you understand? Well, nobody's perfect. There was a divorce. Okay, it was my fault. It was after the job and they gave me severance, okay. But when that ended, the insecurity of not having a firm job was too much for my wife. It was the last straw. But I was going to take care of my family. I was the father, right? I'm still dad. Am I not? One of my friends threw me a bone, got me a job for $2,000 a month while I was taking care of my wife and my son at $2,400 a month. I lived on debt. I lived in an apartment. It wasn't an apartment, it was an office, 11 by 18, no windows. Nobody could see in. Nobody knew I was there. I had a futon and a desk and a computer and the internet so I could reach out. I had one of those dorm refrigerators and a microwave and a TV. And I also had a place like a little pantry to put my groceries and a 4-drawer file to put my important papers. I needed to be somebody, even if I wasn't really earning enough. I lived on debt. But I was going to take care of my family. You remember that quote from the Bible? I remember. Timothy, it was chapter 5, verse 8. I got this. How could I forget it, right? I got kids. But if any provide not for his own, and for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and is worse than an infidel. I'm no infidel. I love my family. I'm going to take care of them. My 14-year-old son was going to grow up without a dad in the house. You don't live to work. You work to live. I'm still the dad, right? You going to take that away from me too? I love my kids. I was talking, but let's be real. I was texting my daughter. There's still some forgiving that's needed. We're estranged a bit. Even after the divorce was final, I told her that the best thing in my life was my children. I grew up with 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and when I came home most of the time, I didn't go out and play with my friends. I wanted to come home and be with my family. My brother taught me so much math that in 2nd grade I was bored. Later on, he taught me word problems, right? In my high school yearbook, you had to write down what you wanted to be when you grew up. I wrote down a father. A father. Family is everything to me. I was there for every birth. Lamaze and everything. When you hold your first son in your hand, it changes your life. It becomes your life. We had 3 sons. My wife asked me if we wanted to have a big family, and I said, yes, I come from a big family. She said, well, if the next one's a boy, it'll be a family of 4. I never prayed. I never prayed so hard in my life. Please, God, if there are any daughters up there, any girls, please send them now. I didn't know that we could have 2 daughters in 14 months. I didn't think that was possible. My family of 4 was going to be a family of 6. 2 daughters. And then the last boy. God. Greater love hath no man than that a man lay down his life for his family. Okay. John 15:13. That's the King James Version, the real Bible. My life is nothing. Nothing without my children. My dad. You want to know about my dad? He was great. But he worked all the time. He was an engineer, top secret stuff, never told us anything. We never knew how great he was. I came from a family of 7 kids. I was right in the middle, 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Thought I couldn't make any mistakes if I could see it coming and going, you know what I mean? He was a church man, too. Like a pastor in his church, but not paid. I remember us sitting in the old Pontiac station wagon after church, and he took this man over to a cafe to get him some food. Oh, he wouldn't give him just money because he wasn't sure he'd feed himself. So he sat there in the cafe with him to make sure he'd eat and be well. Sure, Dad couldn't come to the ball games. He was working at GE all hours, and then the church work, and then family. He didn't come to my games, but I would. We'd be at all the games, all the football games, all the baseball games, drill team for my daughters. I would be there. I would be there. Even Mom couldn't come to the games. They both were like in sports. I mean, Dad was the coxswain, in crew, where they row at Columbia University in New York. My mom, she majored in phys ed, in dance. But for some reason or other, they didn't want us to be in sports. I don't know why. I never lettered. I was never on any team. Oh, we lettered, though. We laughed. We lettered 4 years in backyard football. It was great, and I was natural. I was a natural athlete. My friends called me the Swish King. We'd go over to Newell Smith's house, and I'd just pop him in from on the side of the driveway. Wow. Family's everything. Kids are everything to me. Now you want to talk about marriage. We had a long marriage. It was a wonderful marriage. We loved our kids. But things happen. People make mistakes. We got separated, and because of that work situation, it was the last straw. Oh, man, we sang together for years. We had the kids sing. We sent 4 boys on Christian ministries, on the missions, and I walked down the aisle with 2 daughters, and we watched as 4 sons proudly found wives to spend their lives with. That didn't happen. Was the divorce my fault? Of course it was. But you gotta forgive. That's what's missing today. Well, my first wife, 10 years later, calls me and says, I should never have divorced you, Bill. It was wrong. It was a mistake. But I was married for 5 years at that point. I loved my first wife, and I love my current wife. We have a great relationship. Her husband was unfaithful, but she forgave him right away. I don't know how she did it. Nobody does. And we get together as families. We gather together, even the divorced families, because she forgave him right away. Well, just recently, some good news. My oldest daughter's baby is being blessed, and so she's gathering the family. In October, we're bonding together again. Forgiveness, it's the answer. I love my family. I love my wives. I mean, how does God do that to forgive us when we make mistakes? The mercy that He gives us, do we deserve it? I mean, we don't. But God, I got a problem with you. I guess you could say I'm angry. I don't know. I could never be angry with you, God, but why do you let so much evil persist in the world? I don't understand it. Satan was your son, just like Christ. You knew him. He doesn't change. I'm confused. You have the power. You have the power. Why not unleash some more of your lightning and make the point? Make the point so there's fewer murders, fewer lives taken. Maybe there's fewer divorces if somebody would wake up. Why can't Christians win more? Isn't that fair? Why do we have to wait until the end, to the judgment, for justice to be brought to bear? I mean, why not some final judgment for the wicked right now? Why can't they be punished? It seems like bad things happen to good people, right? Everybody asks that question. Why does that happen? Explain that to me. This has got to change, God. If you want us to be like you, I guess you can't do that. You can't force it. You can't make us be good. Justice? I sort of understand. But it's time. It's time. It's time for justice to be quicker, God.